Hello and welcome to another episode of Younger by the Minute. I'm your host, Jamie Spicer, and I'm always here with my lovely co-host,
Jennifer Spicer. And we are so excited to kick the new year off right with our very first guest. And it is Dr. Cheryl Haseeb. And she is a DNP. She specializes in aesthetics. She's a business owner out of Houston, Texas, and she owns Pura Medical Aesthetics. She also has her own training company called the Aesthetic Nation Institute, and it's accredited, which is huge. She's also the first nurse practitioner to join alliances with training centers that are outside of the United States, and I'll let her dig into that. But last but not least, she's a wife and a mother, and she's a really good friend, and that is huge. Hi, Cheryl. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jamie and Jennifer. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be able to tune into this. I am up in Toronto, the snowy, cold Toronto for the holidays. So I'm glad that we were able to record this and make this happen. This is exciting for me.
Yeah, I love Canada. We used to go up there quite a bit for hockey. So great area to be in.
Well, and we just had a really fun experience in Niagara Falls with Maxis, and that was nice. And that led me into getting ready to do the training that we're going to do at your place in Houston, which is so exciting. And we'll get into that. But one of the reasons why I've been drawn to you since the first time that we met, which was actually in Austin at another training, you were the educator and you were so warm and welcoming. And I remember distinctly that you asked to take a picture, which was really funny because I wanted to take a picture with you. But I also said, one day I want to be just like you. And you said, you will be soon enough. And that vote of confidence did something exponential for me, because it's funny, even though we all know that we should believe in ourselves, it's when somebody else that you look up to gives you that spark of confidence and just instills in you. And you continue to do that even through our text conversations and stuff, like telling me not to dim my light. But it goes into your mantra, which is collaboration over competition. So tell me more about that and your philosophy on that.
That's something that means so much to me. That's empowering. And it really stems from my entry into this aesthetic industry. It wasn't the same mantra that I had. That wasn't the world that I encountered. And that's why I often refer to it to the ugly side of aesthetics, because I believe that oftentimes we get in this mindset as entrepreneurs, as providers, that it has to be competition. And that stems and spirals people into the ugly side of it. And you see jealousy, you see envy, which are words that have no place in a world of collaboration. And that wasn't my experience. I remember very vividly my first time that I was up on stage presenting, and it was a national stage. I was so excited, and I was presenting with some people that I really looked up to, people in the industry that I had really strove to be like and mirror their qualities as educators. And I remember very vividly getting ready to go on stage and being met by a couple with just this cold shoulder, almost ostracizing. And at that moment, I went on stage, and I always say when a camera is there, I can turn on, right? Give the show factor. But deep down, it almost was heartbreaking to me, because these are somebody that I looked up to, that I thought, wow, this is really who others could aspire to be like. And when I didn't get to meet the person that I had portrayed them to be, it was really offsetting to me. That was the exact moment. And this was about 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, that I thought, I will never be like that. I will be such a light and a beacon for others, that they feel welcome as I continue to rise in aesthetics. And I will, because I have a goal. And every day, even on New Year's Eve, we are doing what we have to do. It's the grind, right? It's the grit and the grind that we're willing to do. I told myself that I will never make somebody feel that way again. And it resonated so deep in my soul that I set out every time I meet somebody to make sure that they're seen, they're heard, they're inspired.
And I didn't know this story, and that's exactly what you did. You 100% made me feel that way, which it had like a trickle effect. And a lot of times we see what the negative does, but we don't always see what the positive does. And I think this is the case in point. You've allowed me to go into a bigger, like go from a small pond to an even bigger pond and feel comfort and knowing that I'm not going to feel overwhelmed, because not only do nurses eat their young, but take that to the aesthetic realm and it is a whole other ballgame. We're competitive, and one word that always gets me to think about competition, the word competition actually means to conspire. And I think that gets lost. Conspire means to work together. We don't have to compete. We can work together, and there is enough for everybody. And you know, at the end of the day, it's about how we impact other people's lives. And because we're in an area of medicine that is competitive, we have to go out and find our leads, and there's other med spas opening up everywhere. It can be hard. It can be triggering, but that's when the real work is done.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting you say it, because the first thing that came to my mind on that was there needs to be a mutual respect. And what I mean by that is the new person getting into the industry is so excited because they have all this knowledge and really want to prove themselves. And they're like, really want to, as you said, aspire to be people like you and Jenna becoming and people above that. And they're really like, I'll show them what I know, but they're not giving the respect due to the people that have been in it long enough, thinking that's like, they don't understand the work, the education, and everything they had to go through to get to that level. But at the same time, the people that have made it that level, just like in what I do, I feel very obligated because I was blessed to learn from some very, very big people, mentors. It's my responsibility and my duty to pass that knowledge down. And so I feel privileged when people come to me and ask me for my knowledge, and I am more than gladly to share it. So I just think I think that mutual respect gets lost a little bit because the people that have been in it, they haven't earned it. Well, we know that. So teach them. And then the people coming up and theirs should have the respect to the people that have been in it long enough saying, hey, I know I'm new to this, but I really would love to learn from you.
And I think it comes from that place of abundance, right? It really, when you strip everything down to the basics, it comes from a place of feeling valued. And if you come from a place of abundance, if I have enough, if I am enough, if I know that what is destined for me will be, regardless of what I do, it is already destined what will be. What is meant for me will be mine. And what is meant for you will be yours. And I think that's the mind shift that we have to instill in new injectors coming in, but also those seniored injectors that have been around. It takes nothing from them to share. And that's why your vibe attracts your tribe, right? That's why I no longer will align with those that do not have that like-mindedness that I have, because I can't thrive in that space.
No, it keeps everybody down. And it's funny, I told you both today, it was so ironic that I got that message about how do I deal with feelings basically of inadequacy when it comes to competition. The reality is this industry is getting more competitive, as is personal training. Everything is getting more competitive because our jobs can be replaced. Some people are losing their jobs to not even humans. So it's just, no matter what, this is the evolution of life. And you're right. Like, I've noticed when my cup is empty, or when whether I'm feeling inadequate or I don't have the self-confidence that I had the day before, it's because I'm not filling myself up. So making sure that you fill yourself up, making sure that you have your own mantra. And then that does bleed into the work that you do. And it's not only for our professionals, but also for our patients, because they're coming to us to want to feel better as well.
Right.
And I think that's a big thing. How do we portray this area of medicine to not be ugly? Because there is so much ugly that's attached to it. And that, I love that you said. That was brilliant.
Right.
And unfortunately, don't you remember in nursing, we experienced it, you said it earlier, eating your own. So this is a phenomenon that's not new, but unfortunately, it's still continuing outside of the hospital. And you're exactly right. It comes from that place when your cup is empty, or your perception is that it's empty, right? I would consider myself an optimist. I always try to see the good, the opportunity. I never say there's a problem, there's an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And with the competition, there are med spas in Texas, especially on every corner. I tell my clients, and they ask because I have mentees with me, and they say, why do you train your competition? I tell them, I am my own competition. I am selling a feeling. When you come to me, it's a connection. And if we don't have that connection, maybe I'm not the provider for you.
Right.
And it's a feeling that we're selling. We're connecting to people on a psychological level. I mean, we're injectors, but we're really psychologists as well, correct? How many times have you heard problems day after day?
Yeah, we deal with that in personal training and nutrition. And it's funny, I say exactly what you just said. I always refer to your hairstylist. There's thousands of hairstylists out there, but you go to one particular one. And it would take a lot for you to leave that hairstylist because there's just more than just they cut your hair, but there's a relationship built. There's a bond. So like you were saying, there's so many people out there that need the services we do. One person cannot fulfill that. So again, going back to our obligation, if people are doing things wrong, then teach them how to do it better. And then that way, everybody, the culture, the community is being serviced in the right way, instead of turning your nose up and like, well, they're doing it all wrong and they just this and they're messing people up. Then let's find a way to fix that.
I think that actually says it perfectly because I grew up doing competitive things. And I think that allowed me and I was judged on my skill set. I grew up showing dogs. And so it's a very different sport, but you were critiqued on how well you did. And so and I'm thankful that my mom did that because it taught me how to take constructive criticism well. And I don't know if this comes from that or if we're just all born the way that we are, or it comes from experiences like what you guys have both instilled in me actually, is when you are confident in knowing that the work that you have put in, if I can rest my head at night knowing that I left it all on the table that day, I did the best I could. I showed up the best way that I could be that day. I'm doing my work at advanced education, whatever it is, then I know that's all I can do. And that's to your point, Cheryl, and both of you actually, like when you do that, the rest just falls into place.
Right.
When you try to control everything because you're coming from a fear of lack of self-worth, and we all have the same fears. It's lack of being enough. It's lack of love. It's lack of being successful. It's all the same. So I wish that we could all remember that when someone's acting a certain way or being a certain way, they're clearly coming from a place that's not them. But then that's where the light workers like you come in, because I will tell you, it was just, I came home and talked about you.
Yes.
I was like, she was amazing. Like I've actually never, and I've been around great, educators. I've never had the experience that I had with you. And it was really wonderful. It was beautiful. So I like that you took your negative experience and made it into a positive one.
You give me chills when you talk about the light workers, because I do believe in that. I believe that people, they share energy. Never negative. And it really wraps back into my story and going back to what is meant to be will be. After that meeting, there was a lot of work by some individuals to try to repress my opportunities and take opportunities from me. And I know exactly what it was. I know where it came from. It originated from a place of being threatened, because if there was somebody else in this arena, there wasn't enough, right? So I recognize it for what it is. But if you look now, this is starting to come full circle. 2025 for me will be full circle, meaning that I didn't need to sit at somebody else's table.
Right.
If somebody doesn't want me at that table, I'll bring my own table. And I bring those with me to sit with me. And it chills when you say that, because there is enough room for everybody at my table.
Right.
Oh, I got chills with that.
And I absolutely love that, because have that same attitude. I'm like, I go form my own team. I don't need your team. I'll go make my team, and my team would be what I wanted to be. But it's funny because the ones that were probably trying to hold you down, if they would have just done some more deep diving into they knew right then and there, they're not doing the things they know they're capable of doing. And that's what scared them. They're like, that became a threat because, she's doing everything that I know I should be doing that I'm not doing. And you are a really big reminder. Again, going back, comparison industries, when I prep people for bodybuilding shows, people always say, are you just going to eat the same thing over and over again? You're going to eat chicken and sweet potatoes, chicken and rice. It's like, are you just going to eat fast food again? the thing with it is they take it as an insult because that person doing what they're doing is a reminder that they should be doing that. They just choose not to. And it's a slap of reality of they're capable. They just don't want to. They talk about it, but they just don't take the actions to do it. So I think that was probably about the same thing that happened to you. You showed them what needs to be done and they do it. They just realize they aren't doing it.
Your light will irritate people. It will make people very uncomfortable where they'll leave. And that's the thing is like attracts like.
Yeah.
You're right. And it's funny that you bring that up because we all experience it. There's been times where I'm like, I don't even know what I did to that person. Like, but then it's okay. Take a step back, reassess the situation and realize it has nothing else to do with what it is. And it's just inadequacy really on their part. And that's too bad because I feel like we can all help each other and then we all just grow together. I think that's where you doing what you do in regards to not only how you conduct yourself in person, but how you conduct yourself on social media, how you have your training center that is accredited, which is so rare. Like we have our own, we haven't worked towards that yet. I'm in the process of it for SAMEs and stuff like that. But that's where the foundations lie. It lies in how you have your foundation. Tell me more about, or tell everybody more about the brand new amazing opportunity that you have with being internationally recognized as a nurse practitioner, which is huge because it's not something that's common.
Absolutely. And that was an opportunity. Having this platform was pretty significant. A big barrier was mid-levels, what they call mid-levels. I think that's a term that's going out, but nurse practitioners, physician assistants, or associates now, PAs. I don't think on the global level that we have the recognition or the respect that we deserve. And what's different is in the US, we're really running aesthetics. The majority of providers and business owners are your nurse practitioners, your physicians associates. That is who is really owning a majority of that. When I tried to take it on the global level initially, I didn't get that respect. One of the most obvious signs is we recently went to Niagara Falls. And if you noticed on the panel, there was, and I love my MDs, my physicians. I think that they have an absolute significant place in aesthetics right alongside me, right alongside nurses, it's this linear hierarchy. It's no longer this hierarchy of this pyramidal hierarchy. It's linear. I've trained some really amazing physicians as well. So that was something that pushed me out of my comfort zone, which created change. We know change comes from a place of being uncomfortable. And then I went to Salt Lake City and met Dr. Yanni von Lohan. Something about him and just his presence really attracted. I think he has a very energetic presence that stimulates greatness. I do think that. Remember, globally now, we're not really recognized. So it did take a little bit of convincing, a good persuasion. I went over to Amsterdam and I trained with a group of amazing women. One physician was in there and the rest were nurse practitioners. We had 2 days of phenomenal training. After day one, he ignited something in my soul deep down. I went back to my hotel room and wrote a 13-page proposal on him coming to Houston, me creating a huge regenerative summit in collaboration with him, and hence Raise was born. I presented it to him and his operation manager. He was blown away that it was 13 pages, but I put everything in it, from who the faculty would be, what it looked like, options for hotels, what the topics would be. There was something about that experience that propelled me into my purpose. My purpose is empowerment, right? Removing barriers. Fast forward, they agreed to it. We were doing it. It's been 6 months in the making. March will be a full 7 months of creating Raise. About a month and a half ago in November, the 1st of November, when I went to Amsterdam, He chose me as his first nurse practitioner as faculty for UMA Academy, which is a global training institute. And that for me was an aha moment. That was, we're making it. Not I'm making it, we're making it. Because this is such a stepping stone for all the other nurse practitioners, the physician's assistants, the nurses behind me to continue our path. That's my purpose, is to take us on a global scale and have the respect that we demand. And having our place at the table, it really goes back to, I just want a seat at the table. Give me my respected seat at the table. If you're not going to do that, like I said, I'll make my own table and I'll bring all of the others to sit with me.
Oh, that's so remarkable. And kudos to you, because the person that is the true trailblazer bears a cross that I don't think other people realize. And you have the ability to use, the pressure that you have to carry that cross with, and it can make you cynical or it can make you what you're being. And you do. The way that you interact, and I've loved it to being in the presence of that. The way that you interact, you are truly there to support everyone, men and women. Like, you remember things about people, you pull people in, you help people just that it might be a little bit shy or timid, just rise up. And it just takes getting out of it, breaking out of that comfort zone, like you said. And it is scary as hell when you have to break out of it. It always feels like the bottom's going to fall out, or everything's going to come crumbling down. So good for you. And thank you for giving us that opportunity from the bottom of my heart. And then also giving us the opportunity to be able to train with someone that's a global trainer without having to deal with all these, like, it's so much more expensive and all the time, because we are all business owners. So you're making it feasible in so many ways. And I really appreciate that. And so does he, because when I came home, I was like, that's it, we're going. I have to go.
Pack your bags, Amy. We're going to Amsterdam.
Well, we'll be going to Houston.
Go to Houston. Everything's booked. But no, it's, and you use the word empower, and what we all do, everything that we do is to empower people. We want people to look better, feel better. We want to train, use our knowledge to develop other people in our craft to be better so they can serve their clients better. It's a full circle effect. But, I think empower is a huge word around that. That's a very powerful word to associate to this.
It is. And what I love about you is you do have a lot of spirituality about you, and it helps to reinforce that in me, because we all have our own little bag of gifts that have been given, and it's about how we unlock those doors and bring those gifts to fruition. And it doesn't just happen. I think that's another thing that's a misconception in aesthetics. Like, you decide that you're going to do this and then you're going to be successful.
Right.
It's a lot of time. It's a lot of understanding. It's a lot of things. Like, even throughout my journey of being an injector over the last 10 years and being in aesthetics for over 20, I'm still learning every single day in my own personal journey as my physiology changes, all that stuff. And it's like taking everything that's giving it to you and then seeding through it and figuring it out, and then being able to apply that and make change. And that's exactly what you're doing. And it's awesome.
And I would say in your guys' industry too, the new products that come out on a yearly basis is like a new iPhone. That's right. They're coming out as fast as new laptops, TVs, and iPhone. Be able to stay on top of that and learn that, perfect it, but still remember everything else that's in that toolbox that you had over the last 5-10 years. There's a lot of knowledge in that, a lot of expertise. And that's why I went back to, is people got to understand the time and effort that's taken someone to get to where you're at. Give you that respect level. Just don't think you're going to walk right in and throw those shoes in the next year or two, because that's unrealistic.
I think it goes down to, there's a characteristic that I would bet all three of us have. It's grit. You talked about the competition. I grew up basketball. I was a big basketball player. You showed dogs competitively. Jamie, what was your sport?
Hockey.
Okay. Hockey. It goes down to the characteristic of grit.
Yeah.
The most successful people have grit and tenacity. They're not going to quit when it gets hard. They're able to carry that pressure, but also have the tribe around them. I can't sit here and say that every day I'm an optimistic person and I don't have my days where I just want to scream. That wouldn't be realistic of me. I think we all sometimes revert back to those bad habits and even can fall into that envy comparison, right? And it comes from a place, you said it perfectly. They're doing something that other person's not, maybe that I'm not. But I think that the grit is what defines the personality that is going to be the most successful, the determination to go after the goals, regardless if they're hard, because they will be hard. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Okay.
This is hard. This defines our true purpose and characteristic at the end of the day.
You know how there's layers to our tissue and our anatomy? There's layers to us as people. And I feel like, and it's not just like this straight shot. It's a spiral staircase. So I feel like when you go to a level and you're climbing the summit, you go through these periods of times where you're met with these triggers. And then you'll think, okay, I'm through that. But then you realize as you go to the next one, they become amplified. And I think when somebody has grit and tenacity, you can either let those moments break you. And trust me, I mean, shoot, you should have heard our conversation on the way home today. We were just like unloading, like venting and just, but then it's like, okay, that's enough. Now what are we going to do about it? How am I going to turn it around? Like you have to be resilient. And I think that's the thing. And that's the thing. If people are worried about, like the person that messaged me earlier that we talked about privately, Cheryl, like they're worried about new places. If you continue to stay consistent, if you continue to market and innovate yourself, you will always stay around. It's always about doing the right thing at the right time and always making sure that it's aligned morally and you're doing what you should be doing, not just because it's going to make you money. You're doing what you need to do for the patient and that you stay morally aligned with yourself. Because in this world of aesthetics, we also have some people that like different companies that try to dictate what we're going to use or whatever. I don't want to get into the politics of that, but there's a lot behind the scenes that the consumers don't know. So yeah, sometimes we're stuck like, okay, my business might do better with this, but what is actually the right thing to do and discerning that? And that can be hard sometimes when everything's coming at you.
Right.
How do you, I'm curious as to this because you're also a business owner. How do you deal with your culture and keeping that alive and keeping them all like you and making sure that they know that they have a place in helping everybody build and not becoming too competitive, not only within the practice, because I'm sure you wouldn't tolerate that, but even outside of it?
I think culture can be tricky, even in the aesthetic community, because in Texas, anybody can inject. So building a culture and sustaining a culture, it can be difficult at times because, like you said, everybody sees the reward, but they don't see the journey to get there. They don't see the sacrifice. And the sacrifice as a mom and a wife is put in endless hours, which I know that you both can relate to, and it takes time away from your family. Traveling, endless hours away from your family, missing birthdays, missing ball games. So having that culture is very important to me. But it is a revolving door. It's something that I know what culture I want. I know what I'm willing to tolerate and what I'm not willing to tolerate. And sometimes that means standing alone and not having quantity, but having quality. And that's why I haven't grown faster than I've grown. I've just opened my second location after 5.5 years. Mm-hmm. And it's a very small location, 2 days a week. And I did that because I will not sacrifice who my tribe is for success because I don't think it's sustainable. It doesn't represent my brand.
No, we've actually gone through that because we've slowly expanded our concept. St. Louis is a little bit of a smaller city, and we've had the thought of having multiple locations. We probably go out of state for that, but we're not going to move to a bigger location because of that. I would rather keep it small and tight and manageable and have our fingers on the pulse, because as soon as we try to go beyond it, there's way too many opportunities for one of those apples to start to rot. And then it's just
not just that, but then you got to really be solid in everything. And for me, it's more important to have better client outcome than it is to have massive income. And I know some people might disagree with that, but I also know when you look at bigger corporations, there's a pain point with that too. Yeah, they're making more money, but there's a lot more pain points along that journey to get there. And I think that's a personal conversation that entrepreneur needs to have. Is it worth it to go to the next pain point for the next income level? Or have I accomplished a lot and now my goal is to serve as many people as I can and have great client outcome? And I'll even add a great culture and staff, because again, nobody's self-made. I love when people say I'm self-made. No, everybody's had help along the way. Some format, we had help. So making sure that you have that support staff so you can then at some point enjoy that time with your family, go to the sporting events, do that, knowing that your business that you worked so hard to build is being taken care of the same way if you were in that building.
Yeah. And I think it's a little presumptuous. There have been lessons learned along the way. It's a true statement. No one will ever understand it unless you're in the one in that position. We can speculate, we can whatever, but when you're the one that is the owner, there is a different level of sacrifice, and that's okay. That's what we signed up for, all of us. But I think it's funny because I'm not sure if this is how you opened your practice, but us opening our philosophy in our practice was us finding our own table and making our own seats. And I think what we've realized is sometimes you let people stay in those seats too long because you're afraid you're going to lose the table. So it's like that. So that's where I wanted to pick your brain and see, does that shift for you? But I think it's just finding your voice, correct?
It's finding your voice. And then as a business owner, I got really good at hiring to my weakness, being able to delegate. That was hard because this is our baby. As an entrepreneur, this is our baby and nobody can do it like we can do it. I had to have a mind shift. There was no way for me to grow. And growth for me means for me to go out, disseminate, educate, speak, get that platform for others to follow behind me. And if I don't have a good culture or a good support staff behind me, Pura in Houston falls. So I've gotten very good at hiring to my weakness. I have an office manager who is complete opposite than me. She's very, very type A. She is organized, very much on top of everything. She knows where everything is at every moment. I'm a trailblazer, a dreamer. I'm going to usually do something before my plan is finished. But it takes that person to pull me down from the clouds and say, okay, let's think about it this way. Or maybe legality wise, let's look at it this way. It takes those people around you that believe in your vision, that will support your vision. And I tell people, I'm not the end of their journey. I'm a piece of their journey. So I will let people go. They'll come train with me. And I had to be okay with being used to a certain point.
Yeah.
Being a training facility, people will come get what they need from you and leave you. And that for me triggered some abandonment. So I had to really do some reflecting and say, okay, I am only a piece of somebody's journey. If my motto is empowerment, collaboration, I have to get okay with being a stepping stone for others as well.
Right. That's very good.
Yeah.
Really good insight. I know that triggers two big things with me and Jen. It's because I always say she's the rock that anchors me down because I'm the rocket ship. I'm like you. I'm just the trailblazer. Just let me go. And she's, wait, we need to think about this stuff. I'm like, no, we don't. We just need to go. And so she keeps me grounded. But at the same time, she gets a little stuck and I'm like the rocket. Let's get it going. We're a center like for nutrition where we bring in interns. We've done it for trainers. I know Jen's had some injectors, the same thing. So that I never thought about that side, that abandonment side of that. That's a very good insight because that does hit. It's hard.
It hits so hard. And that's the thing. We always want to say, oh, it's not personal or it's not business or whatever. I'm going to mess it up. It's not personal.
It's business. It's not personal.
But it is personal. You can't if it's coming from your heart, you can't do it well. You know what I mean? And so everything that creates some sort of emotional response is something that's coming up to heal. And you said that, and that really resonated because it is hard. You pour in, and sometimes that's on me. specifically, okay, did they even ask to be poured into? Am I pouring into something I don't need to be pouring into? Could I let them stand on their own 2 feet? And yeah, it's funny. You learn those things. And just like with learning the craft of aesthetics, these things just take time and they take self-awareness. And I think that brings us back to empowerment. It's having self-awareness and how can you show up? And I know for a fact that everything that we do has some sort of equal and opposite reaction. Everything has a consequence. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way too. So what we put out to the world will come back. We might not always see it when we want to see it, but it does come back. For the times that you have trained someone and they left, maybe those were your little karmic bubbles that got you with Dr. Yanni. It's just all of the things. And when you look back and at the end of our lives, when we're all talking about what we used to do, you'll be able to see like that was the path. And I think that's the big thing that we get lost because we get stuck in ourselves and we're meant to do this together. We're meant to empower each other. We're meant to sit at the same tables or tables amongst each other with our tribe. And with each other, that's how we all get to where it is that we want to go.
We're changing culture. That's what we're doing. So you talk about culture. We are changing a culture. We are changing the ugly side of aesthetics. It's a journey. It's going to be difficult. I'm committed to it. I know you're committed, standing beside me to it. And one voice will be heard. 2 voices is stronger. 3. And that's what we're doing. We're building a nation.
Yeah.
To be able to empower others and say, there's enough.
Right.
There's enough for us all. There's room for us all at this table.
Right.
There is.
Question for you. New person coming in the industry. What's 1 or 2 things of advice that you could give them that you would like to see that would promote the change we're talking about?
Align with people that have similar values. Align with people who value excellence. And excellence is defined as from the customer to admin to even the educational aspect of it, right? Be humble in your skill. Be transparent. Be real. Be driven by an ethical, moral compass. Don't lose that. Don't lose your why. When you lose your why in a world of ugly, I think that you become something that you're not meant to be. You lose your purpose and you lose your light.
I think that's powerful because I think that as someone is like what you were going through, that was being ugly, it's really hard to start. It's really easy to start second guessing yourself.
Oh,
and is this really for me? Am I really cut out for this? Maybe I don't know as much as I thought I did. Maybe I'm not as good as I thought I did. So I think that's awesome. I guess then I'll flip it, this one might be a little bit harder. What recommendations would you say or advice to be put out there for the people that have been in the industry for a long time that would promote the change we're looking for?
I think that they have to have self-awareness, mindfulness, and that comes from being humbled. We have this phenomenon, which I find so funny. It's the Insta-famous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Insta-famous. Social media is hard. It's tricky. And it's a dopamine hit, right? That mindless scrolling. And my kids humble me all the time. They're like, oh, that's mindless. That's your dopamine hit. That they're the ones who challenge me and tell me that. And I think that those that have that platform, those pioneers, I would say be more open, be more open-minded, because collaboration will win every time. And if they're not going to get on the train, they're going to get left behind. They'll become obsolete and irrelevant because this movement will take over.
Yep.
It didn't take long on that national stage that I was on for some really big people to recognize my light. And that's what irritated those others, was that my light was there. And surround yourself by people who respect you, respect your space, will share with you. Being transparent. That's my brand. On social media, I'm transparent. I'll show you when my hair's a mess, when it's the real deal, right? When we're not our prettiest, when we're not the realest that we can be. And I think that, Jamie, to go to your point and saying what we need for the change, we need more people to be open, to be humble in their skill, and really, to be a pioneer in this industry, I think that they have to be collaborative and not just with those that are like them. It's not a credential thing.
Correct.
It's not an MD. It's not an MP or a PA or an RN. There's not this hierarchy.
Right.
I think we have to remove that mindset.
All right, Cheryl, that was some really good advice. I think the one thing I would probably add to that would be is the fact that the people that have been in the industry for a long time, I think they need to remember that at one point in time, they were also the new kid on the block, and that they were up and coming and they had ambitions and everything too. And they have gotten to the point to where they're at because people invested in them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think it's a trap though too. Like, I think time's a trap. And I think that we think that we want to become comfortable and everything's going to stay the same, but that's not life. You're either growing or you're dying. And so just remembering that. So for all the injectors or business owners or whoever is listening, because I feel like this whole podcast can permeate into anything if we want to twist it that way. And it's just remember that you're not meant to sit stagnant, and new people are meant to happen. New changes are meant to happen. It's just what opportunity can you take from that? And I think that's what's most exciting. I'm so excited about the training coming up, and I would love to hear more about that from you, the queen herself of Raise.
Absolutely. So Raise is an opportunity to pick the best of the best and sit them at our table. When I selected those that would attend with us and really be our keynote, I identified key players in aesthetics that reflected and mirrored the same philosophy that we've spoke about on this podcast. It's those that have the position, have the platform, like Dr. David Sadat. He is one that really comes to mind, and he's one of our keynotes for Raise. And I selected him because he is so collaborative and he's humble in his skill, the most approachable man. And I know he's going to be on your podcast. Additionally, Dr. Shino Bay Aguilera. Everybody knows Shino and how approachable and transparent he is in his purpose. Those are the players that we chose for Raise, and Raise is something that the nation hasn't seen before. It's regenerative, it's education, evidence-based, but it's also an opportunity to network and collaborate with like-minded individuals that really want to share that seat at the table. They want to collaborate on a level that allows others to elevate in their purpose. And that's really the purpose behind Raise, is not only just education, but the networking opportunity, and can see what opportunities really come out of that. That's the key to it. And it's March 1st through 3rd in Houston, Texas. We're so excited to bring Dr. Shino, Dr. David Sadat, Dr. Yanni von Lohan from Amsterdam. I'll be speaking on empowerment in business. And then Dr. Alec McCarthy, who is a phenomenal being, and he's doing amazing things in the regenerative research world. So all of these really big players who believe in collaboration will share a stage for March 1st through 3rd, and hopefully we'll start changing culture.
Let me even challenge you to rephrase that. You already are changing the culture. And I say that with love and respect, because you are. And I love being able to go into this opportunity with the people that I resonate with, you obviously being one of them. But I will say, Dr. Shino Bay, if you have a message for him, he answers it. I have the same philosophy mindset as all of you with regeneration and getting your ROI and really doing things that are going to be more safe, but also more rewarding when it comes to what we're putting in our bodies. I even, one of my girls coined the name for me, regenerative. It's really fun. Like that. And Dr. Sadat has been great since the first time that I met him speaking as well. He's there for any questions I have. And I love, it's just nice because I know you probably understand this, you've had this experience too. But because it did used to be more of a pyramid and not linear, when you have a doctor that doesn't make you feel like he's superior, which all of the physicians that are going to be there are amazing. And then I love that you're bringing the science behind it to just back it up. So we have, all of that. I'm so excited. It's going to be great. He's actually tagging along with me just to get to Houston. But I really want to thank you. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your mission and your gifts and what you're doing. And please just keep doing it, because it's really amazing. And I'm so excited for you to be the first guest in 2025 as we empower, elevate, change, and be pioneers together.
I would love for the two of y'all to bring your podcast down to Ray's and do then let's record a session during it and talk to some of these people who we're saying they're collaborative. Let's get their message out there. I would love that if you would take that invitation from me.
We're on it.
I'm honored. I'm so honored.
That is a huge honor to be invited to that. Thank you for that opportunity and the opportunity to get to hear your story, to learn about your journey and the fact of the mission that you're doing. It says a lot about you.
Yes. Thank you for your
It's
time.
wonderful.
All right.
Thank you so much.
That's another episode of Younger by the Minute, a very special episode at that. And with that, I'm out.
I'm out too. And I'm going to have all of Cheryl's contact information. So if you guys want to just reach out to her, have any questions, follow her on her social media platforms, please do. And again, Cheryl, thank you so much.